Would you please be upstanding for the arrival of Her Excellency Professor the Honourable Margaret Gardner.
Please be seated. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which Government House and its grounds sit, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. Your Excellency, I invite you to present the honours and awards in the Order of Australia. By command of His Majesty the King, to mark the occasion of the coronation of Their Majesties King Charles III and Queen Camilla, to receive the Coronation Medal, the Right Honourable the Earl of Loudoun. Michael Pratt. The Order of Australia. To be Officers in the General Division, Alan Schwartz, for distinguished service to the community through philanthropic endeavours and to sustainable social benefit initiatives. Dr. Brett Sutton, for distinguished service to the people of Victoria through public health administration and governance and to medicine. Professor Joseph Albert Trapani, for distinguished service to medical research, particularly immunology and the development of immune-based cancer therapies, and to the community. To be members in the General Division, Lynn Morgaine, for significant service to the community through a range of organisations. Ronald Jeffrey Pickford, for significant service to the building design sector and to the community in a range of roles. Emeritus Professor Adrian Laird Polglaze, for significant service to medicine as a surgeon, researcher, and educator. Dr. John Allen Morris Ramsher, for significant service to research science, to professional societies, and to the community. Professor Joanna Robinson, for significant service to community health through suicide prevention, awareness, and support. The late Emeritus Professor William Hugh Sawyer, to be received by his wife Diane Sawyer, in recognition of his significant service to tertiary education and to biochemistry. Susanna Sheed, for significant service to the people and Parliament of Victoria and to the community. Linda Marion Sorrell, for significant service to health administration through a range of roles. Dr. Michael Richard Stevens, for significant service to primary industry and to the community. The Honourable Dr. Sharman Nancy Stone, for significant service to the people and Parliament of Australia and to the community through executive positions. Heather Lorraine Stringer, for significant service to youth in Victoria. Diana Claire Taylor, for significant service to Australian rules football and to the community of Geelong. Mary Bernadette Uzelak, for significant service to the community of the Barwon South West region. Her Honour Judge Wendy Ann Wilmoth, for significant service to the judiciary and to the law. Dr. Sharon Zaks, for significant service to dentistry and to the arts. To receive the Conspicuous Service Cross, Commodore Gustav Henry Nord Thompson for outstanding devotion to duty as a senior leader with Australia's Collins-class submarine program. To receive the Medal for Gallantry, the late Pilot Officer David Reed Taylor, to be received by his daughter, Margaret Reed Ekberg, in recognition of his acts of gallantry in action in hazardous circumstances on the 22nd of July 1942 as the plane wireless operator of Lockheed Hudson A16-201. To receive the Public Service Medal, Gerard Vincent Mansour, for outstanding public service in elevating the voice and experience of senior Victorians during the COVID-19 pandemic. To receive the Australian Police Medal for Distinguished Police Service, Assistant Commissioner Christopher James Gilbert. Inspector Andrew John Glow. Superintendent David Matthew Griffin. Detective Senior Sergeant Andrew William McGowan. Detective Sergeant Rosalind Valerie Wilson. To receive the Emergency Services Medal for Distinguished Emergency Service, Graham Charles Hurrell. Stanley Jezerski. Royston William Kennedy. To receive the Australian Corrections Medal for Distinguished Corrections Service, Miranda Alul. Wayne Maxwell Jackson. Mark Kenneth Jones. To receive the Medal of the Order of Australia in the General Division, Cheryl Marie Deadman. Jan Mock, for service to the community of the Alpine Shire. Yvonne Margaret Morrison, for service to equestrian sport. Bruce Lindsay Murray, for service to secondary education and to the community. Carly Ann Myers, for service to community health and to people with disability. Andy Hu Nguyen, for service to veterans. Catherine Norma Nixon, for service to choral music and to conservation and the environment. Daniel Michael Oakes, for service to journalism. Nicole Oburn, for service to the financial sector and to the community. Dr. Margaret Mary O'Donnell, for service to education and to the community. Constantine Pagonis, for service to the multicultural community of Victoria. Evdokia Yvonne Panagakos, for service to the Greek community of Melbourne. Edward Leonard Pitfield, for service to youth and to the community. Gail Porter, for service to community health as a speech pathologist. Lynette Margaret Reed, for service to community health. Susan Lynette Rice for service to volleyball. Marion Joan Richardson for service to the communities of Bendigo and Kahuna. Trevor Anthony Ricketts for service to the community of Monbulk. Susan Marie Riley for service to local government and to the community of Melbourne. Wilma Dawn Robarts for service to the community of Williamstown. Alan McNaughton Robinson for service to secondary education. Ian Scott Robinson for service to the retail sector and to professional associations. Dr. Jeffrey Bruce Robinson for service to medicine. Natalie Skye Rose for service to the law. Dr. Donald Graham Ross for service to science and to lacrosse. Michael Walter Ryan for service to the community through a range of organisations. Adele Marie Schonhardt for service to the arts. Loretta Nancy Simmons for service to the community through a range of roles. Dr. Alan Lansell Soward, for service to cardiology. Elizabeth Tracy Spicer, for service to the community through a range of roles. Sylvia Faye Stewart-Muir, for service to the Indigenous community of Victoria. Suzanne Denise Struthers, for service to the community of Central Gippsland. Caroline Talbot, for service to the community through a range of organisations. Pamela June Taylor, for service to nursing and to the community. Michael Henry Tian, for service to the community of the Goulburn Valley. Dr. Jan Marie Tennant, for service to research science and to business. Lavinia Joyce Thal, for service to the community through a range of organisations. Lindsay Victor Thal, for service to the community through a range of organisations. Anne Catherine Thompson, for service to modern pentathlon. Ian Douglas Thompson, for service to the community through a range of organisations. Mary Patrice Tobin, for service to the performing arts through administrative roles. Gerald Stanley Tucker, for service to swimming. Harold Lee Venables, for service to the community through a range of organisations. Karina Vucic, for service to business and to the community. Gidja Lee Walker, for service to conservation and the environment. Helen Louise Walker, for service to women through a range of roles. Elaine Walbridge, for service to the community through a range of roles and organisations. Cheryl Ann Way, for service to softball and community health. Maxine Lola Webb, for service to the visual arts and to the community of Wangaratta. Tracy Webster, for service to nursing and to community health. Arthur Bruce Witchell, for service to athletics in Victoria. Peter Whitford, for service to orienteering and to the community of Steels Creek. Jennifer Helen Willits, for service to the community through social welfare organisations. Carol Joyce Willis, for service to the community through a range of roles. Stephen Guy Russell Wilmoth, for service to the law and to the church. Bruce James Wilson, for service to the community and to agricultural education. Janet Marie Withers, for service to youth through guiding. Elizabeth Karen Wynne, for service to the community of Yarram. Zaini Yeshel-Yurt, for service to multicultural communities and to women's affairs. Please join Her Excellency in congratulating all today's recipients. Your Excellency, I now invite you to address us.
Nina Taylor, Parliamentary Secretary for Justice, representing the Minister for Corrections. John Pasuto, Leader of the Opposition. Deputy Commissioner Sarah Miles, representing the Commissioner Corrections Victoria. Chief Commissioner Shane Patton, Victoria Police. Air Vice Marshal Stephen Chappell, Head Military Strategic Commitments Division. Commodore Greg York, I should know how many times have I welcomed the Commodore. Commodore Greg York, Senior Naval Officer Victoria. Beverly Pinder, Committee Member, the Order of Australia Association Victoria Branch. Distinguished guests, of which there are so many, including all of those we've just awarded honours today. Let me begin by acknowledging that we're meeting on the unceded lands of the people of the Eastern Kulin Nations, the Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung peoples, and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and recognise any other Aboriginal elders who are with us here today. It's a very great pleasure to welcome you here to Government House, and these are very joyous events. They are a wonderful celebration that comes around only twice a year, but they are a very significant celebration. Order of Australia Investiture ceremonies have been held in this historic ballroom since the introduction of the Australian Honours System in 1975. Of course, the ballroom much predates the Australian Honours System, but it is a glorious room, and it seems only the appropriate spot to recognise these honours that we've seen handed out to people today. The recipients we've seen walk across the red carpet have been recognised for their work in charities, in sport and research, religious communities, the creative arts, education, health. You've heard the many, many areas in which people have been recognised. And it's very important that we do recognise the great range of areas in which people contribute to our community. And that's what's actually one of the marvellous things about these ceremonies, is that you look out and you get a sense of the many different ways that people are contributing to the community, and it is a great thing to be able to recognise it. In the face of such a long history, and I have to say that between you and me, 1975 doesn't seem that long ago to me, but I'm quite aware there are others who have a different perspective on whether that's a long time ago, and some of them will be in the room with us today. But in such a long history, it's unusual for those being recognised to represent a different part of the community, but indeed communities change, and so do those honoured, and so should those honoured as the community changes. But perhaps more surprisingly, this is only the second time in the Order's history that more than 50% of those honoured are women. And it's probably fair to say that women have been more than 50% for a bit longer than 1975. In 1975, Phyllis Gratian was one of the first Victorian women to receive an AM for her service to social welfare. She'd done significant work in Victoria's blind community, establishing the Lady Nell Seeing Eye Dogs School and Rehabilitation Centre, which is better known today as Seeing Eye Dogs Australia. Many Victorian women then followed in her footsteps. In 2001, Dr. Gabrielle Medley was recognised for service to medicine and women's health through the Victorian Cytology Service. Having escaped Nazi persecution as a child, Medley became Medical Director of the Victorian Cytology Service and oversaw the introduction of the Australian Cervical Screening Program, a program that's been credited with halving the mortality rate among cervical cancer patients since 1991. A more recent example, last year, 2023, Antoinette Braybrook was recognised for significant service to the law and to family violence prevention. A Kuku-Yulanji woman, Braybrook is the co-founding member and Chief Executive Officer of JIRA, an Aboriginal community-controlled organisation that provides legal services and support to First Peoples affected by family violence. And you can see in those three examples the range of fields that are recognised, and you can see that, yes, we have been recognising women, but it is surprising it's taken us a bit of a while to catch up with the general contributions across the community, and we'd hope not to be so slow in the way we recognise the diversity of our community in future and the range of ways in which they contribute. It's really important that we recognise this range of work in the community, because sometimes we recognise a moment, we see the achievement, but most of what is being recognised here, indeed the overwhelming majority of it, is not the moment. It's actually a lifetime of contribution, and you can hear it in the citations. When you get a citation that says many roles or many organisations, that's just can't write down on a single piece of paper all the things they've been doing and all the many ways in which they've contributed. That so many people recognised here are indeed just so significant to their communities because they are contributing in so many different ways and have done so. And sometimes people write their citation so it talks about the thing they're most important about, so that it gets recognised for a sort of what looks like a recognisable single body of work, but rarely is that the case in the people who are recognised here. And so this is a very important process, and it's why we encourage people to nominate people. It's people who've been recognised here and those of you who are sitting supporting and watching them, because the process of nomination is so important for being able to celebrate that lifetime of contribution. But it's also important that we do so and we look out because we are saying something as a community about what we value, what we think is important. Because this is an Australian honours system. It's down to us who we choose to nominate. It's down to us how we signal what we care about. It's down to us whether we recognise the full diversity of our community. So it's in all our hands, except mine, because I'm not allowed to nominate anybody. But please, I'm encouraging you, because it's a very important thing. Today's recipients do remind us that people from all walks of life create change, and they make truly great contributions to our community. And we see it in the range of general honours, and we see it in the specific ones in particular areas of the forces, including the police force and corrections, areas that we rely on for the safety and security of our communities. There are many reasons to be glad that we're able to recognise people here today. So, I just want to urge you, this is our system. It's an Australian system, and it's a system that has to be able to say something about what we care about. So you need to make sure that that is the case. Congratulations to everyone who received an award today. It was indeed a very great pleasure and a great honour to be able to stand here and be the person that gets to hand over the honour and to recognise you. It's a small thing for many, many lifetimes of contribution in this room. So, again, thank you to everyone here and to all the recipients. I'm looking forward to what you do next.
Thank you, Your Excellency. If you are able to do so, would you please stand and join in the singing of the first verse of the national anthem and remain standing for the departure of the Governor. Thank you.
That concludes official proceedings for today. The State Apartments will now be open for viewing. On behalf of the Governor, I invite you to stay and enjoy the hospitality of Government House. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.